going to tell you because I know if I can be vulnerable with you, it will help you in your child care centers. But 12 years ago, I found myself sitting in the parking lot of my child care center in my car, praying to God to take this purpose out of my life. I literally sat in my parking lot after driving an hour from one of the centers I owned. I had just put up a bunch of fires, and now I sat in the parking lot of my hometown center, getting ready to go in and put out another fire. And I was exhausted. I was tired. I was emotionally spent. I was financially spent. And my time was just going to my child care center. I felt like my program owned me instead of me owning my center. And I will never forget, I sat there, my hands on the steering wheel, and I cried. And I could not get out of my car. I could not get out of my car to walk through my doors. And I just prayed, I'm like, God, if this is really what I am meant to do, you have to show me. You have to make it so painfully obvious that I cannot deny that this is my purpose. Within seconds, God showed me why I was put on this earth. I walked into my center, and I was still exhausted. And before I even had a chance to take my purse off my shoulder and put it on my desk, my infant teacher walked into my office and handed me an infant. She said, in case you forgot why you're here, I want you to meet Ivy. Ivy is an 8-week-old baby who was abandoned in a Las Vegas hospital after her mother, who's a meth addict, gave birth and just left her there. Now, she spent the first 8 weeks of her life in this hospital because nobody wanted to take on a crack baby. No one wanted to foster her. But because of what we do for foster parents in our community, the foster family that took her drove to Las Vegas, which is a 9-hour drive, picked her up, and she now has a home. I knew in that moment, that's why I'm here. I knew my purpose was so much bigger than what I had realized and why I was put on this earth. Now, whether you believe in God, the universe, whatever, it's really up to you. The point is, that day, I really understood why I was born and why I'm here, why I do this. That day, I also made a decision. I wasn't going to allow my purpose to be so hard anymore. I was going to fight for the babies. And so I went on a journey, and I really started looking at me, at what am I doing, and started questioning, does it really have to be this hard? Or maybe there's a better way, an easier way, that isn't so straining. Maybe it doesn't have to be this way. If this is why I was put on this earth, to help these children, then maybe there's a better way. Because ultimately, that's why we're all here, right? I mean, we own businesses, we run, we manage, whatever we do. How many of you got into this industry because you thought, I'm gonna have no time, no money, and it's gonna drain me emotionally? None of us, right? But how many of you find yourself in that position today? How many of you feel exhausted? I'm gonna point Lori. Lori is one of my clients. She took her first week off in 4 years, which, woohoo! 4 years, but she took the week off, right? And I've been encouraging her, Lori, you can't do this. Your program cannot own you. And I'm here to tell you over the next 2 days, your program doesn't have to own you. It doesn't have to be that way. I was that owner that was emotionally drained, financially drained. I came so close to bankruptcy that I had an eviction notice on my center door, a 72-hour eviction notice that I was able to overcome. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't. So let's talk about the state of childcare in the United States today. We're dealing with staffing shortages. Would you say that that's probably our #1 concern right now, staffing shortages? It's so hard to recruit and hire, right? Long wait times for subsidy payments, right? You guys in New Mexico are doing good, huh? Yeah, New Mexico, man, the nation needs to go to New Mexico and see what they're doing. I got to speak at their conference and just sit with a lot of the leaders. It is amazing what they're doing in New Mexico. Debilitating regulations. Some of my clients in Connecticut, do you know they can't even start a person until they pass the background check? So imagine, like, how do you keep ratios if you can't even start them? Which background checks are 12 weeks out, so you hire someone and then they need to wait 12 weeks to even be able to start their job? Can you imagine? It's just debilitating. COVID-induced delayed development. How many of you are dealing with behavior issues because they didn't get the social emotional competencies they needed during COVID? So debilitating, isn't it? Where, how many of you guys are dealing with 4-year-olds who aren't potty trained? I have never in my life seen so many children, 4 and 5 years old, who aren't potty trained. It's insane, isn't it? Kindergartners. It is debilitating. And imagine our poor kindergarten teachers that are at a 1-to-20 ratio. I can't even imagine. Some of them are a 1-to-30 ratio. And then we have lack of support for our staff that isn't equipped to deal with this. Our staff isn't educated to deal with these really high-level behavior problems or a 4-year-old who's biting. I spoke to one of you guys about a really bad 4-year-old bite. Like, 4-year-olds shouldn't be biting. It's crazy what we're dealing with. Lack of resources. We don't have the resources we need, that's for sure. And lack of parental cooperation. How many of you are in that position where the parents, it is your fault? Well, what did you do? They don't do that at home. How often do we hear that? Well, I don't know what you're doing, but they don't do that at home. It's like, of course they don't do it at home. There's not 20 other 2-year-olds at home, right? Of course they didn't do it at home. You're right there for their every beck and call. Management is burnt out. I cannot tell you how many messages I get every week from somebody saying, I am tired, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. Just like I was sitting in my car that day. Same way. It's like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Frivolous lawsuits. I just got one last year. I got hit with a frivolous lawsuit, and my insurance company, and I didn't know Sam at the time, I wish I did, but my insurance company literally said to me, oh, it's cheaper to pay him and make him go away. Really? Are you kidding me? Because these people know what they're doing, yet we're going to pay them to make them go away, and they just won. Frivolous lawsuits. Insurance crisis. How many of you are dealing with trying to find insurance as we're getting cut and cut and cut every year after year? My insurance has tripled in the last 3 years. Tripled. And of course, we talked last night, if you were at the VIP dinner, we talked about low wages, which Aaron had some great solutions for that I was just like, oh, I've got work to do. Low wages. We're dealing with low wages. None of us make enough, right? I would love to pay every single one of my staff members double what they make, and they deserve it. We deserve more than NFL players. Come on. We're changing the world. They're entertaining us. Child care affordability. We don't want to put this on the back of parents, right? It's already hard for the parents. Cost management. How many of you guys are having a hard time with the cost of goods? If you do field trips, gas, right? A gallon of milk. Any of you guys in the food programs? Yeah, if you serve meals, it's expensive right now. Just basic inflation and work ethic, my favorite. How many of you guys love the work ethic right now? One of my favorite things to teach right now is get rid of this notion of common sense. There is no such thing as common sense. No such thing. This is my favorite thing to teach right now because there isn't. But I have to tell you guys a story. My son, my oldest son, we were changing email systems, like same email address using different, I don't know this stuff, but we're just using a different system, right? And my director, Brandy, and I were struggling. We're like, I don't understand this new email thing. He's like, oh, come on, you guys, this is common sense. And it just hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I tell people all the time. You know, I teach that there's no such thing as common sense. And then I was on the receiving end of not having the common sense that someone else perceives. And what I really learned is that one person's common sense isn't another. And unfortunately, right now, work ethic is not common sense anymore. It's not. So we have to teach it, right? We're literally raising a generation of a workforce. Lack of benefits, inflation. I mean, I could go on, and I'm sure you guys could too. We could have a powwow party over the next 2 days about what's wrong with our industry. If you just look through different headlines, Missouri's child care crisis, a $1.3 billion strain on the economy. One of my clients, Jennifer McDonald, she is actually in Missouri, and they are currently over 5 months behind on paying out subsidy. Can you imagine? They have so many child care centers going out of business because the subsidies have not been paid out in over 5 months, and they don't know when it's going to be paid. Like, there is no ETA or anything. I mean, we go pretty long too, but at least we get an ETA. They have no clue when they're going to be paid. 3.2 million children could lose or have already lost their child care spots in 2024. An estimated 70,000 child care centers have closed or will close by the end of this year. 74% of children under 5 in Nevada do not have access to quality care. That breaks my heart. Absolutely breaks my heart. And I know all this is depressing, but I really want to tell you guys, it doesn't have to be this way. The reason I want you guys to really see this is because I want you to think about, what did childcare look like 30 years ago? We were having a conversation, Nancy, about childcare in the 80s, right? What did it look like? And Nancy was talking about how that's when she was really studying the models, and how back in the 80s, they were really just realizing, okay, we need regulations. Childcare licensing came into play. So our school system in the United States was really developed in the 40s and the 50s. But the childcare system, we're looking at the 70s, the 80s, right? It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. And it's time for us to reinvent the system. It is time for us to change what isn't working. Over the next 2 days, I want you guys to keep asking yourself. You all, each one of you has a choice. We all do. Every single one of us. We get to either be Blockbuster or Netflix. Who do you choose? Blockbuster's gone. The old way of doing childcare is dying. It's turning into Blockbuster. And there's a new way emerging. And that's where there's hope. This is the old way. But there is a new way. And it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be such a strain. It really doesn't. So over the next 2 days, if you allow these next 2 days, it will change your life. And I can tell you guys, I know some of you dragged your husbands, and some of you husbands are like, oh, but I'm not in childcare. How's this going to change my life? We have an amazing panel of speakers that I brought in specifically outside the childcare industry for a reason. And I can guarantee you that whether you're in childcare or not, you are going to gain something that can change your life over the next 2 days if you allow it to. But I cannot give you a magic pill. There is no magic pill. But if you allow and really listen and open your mind and your heart to what you're hearing and approach it from a different mindset, which Tony was going to go way deep into, it will change your life, whether you're in childcare or not. So those of you husbands who got dragged here, I promise there's something in it for you too. Those of you who aren't in this industry, there is something in it for you. I want you to leave here with hope. There is a better way. That day, I sat in my car, I didn't see any hope. And I will admit it took me a couple months to really get there, but when I did, it happened pretty rapidly. It really did. There is hope. There is a better way. You don't have to live at your child care center. You don't have to be going bankrupt. You don't have to have a staff that you want to fire all of them. How many of you guys walk into your child care center and literally walk in and just say, I need to fire every single one of them and start over? Right? I've done it. I will admit, there was a day I walked into my center and I actually looked around and I smelled smells and I'm like, oh, I need to fire everybody but Alana and Brandy. And ironically, Alana and Brandy are here today. But ironically, a big portion of my staff is still with me. We have amazing retention at my center. And I realized through a process that it was me. It wasn't them. It was how I was showing up. It wasn't my staff. It was how I was leading them. When I looked at my financials and really learned how to do what I'm supposed to do, I realized that it was me. It was how I was approaching my financials as a leader. When I looked at the hours I was spending, I realized it was me. And the fact that as a leader, I didn't have processes. I didn't have systems in place. I didn't have clarity. I didn't have a way to duplicate me. It was all in my head. So I had to do everything. I had to learn to get it out of my head. I had to learn how to train it, how to get it documented, how to create real systems that were tangible and duplicatable. So a lot of this is hope, clarity, abundance, gratitude. Those are a lot of feeling words, but there is tangible also that has to go in, right? There are the systems and processes. And for those, are any of you guys like system nerds in here? Like my SOP nerds who love a good SOP? Yeah, I know some of you love a good SOP. I do now too. You can ask my staff, anytime something goes wrong, Brandy will say, oh, she's gonna create a checklist. And I do. Yep, we're gonna have a checklist for this now every single time. It's oh, we're gonna have a checklist. But SOPs will free you. Systems will free you, I'm telling you. It is amazing. So you will lead with hope, clarity, abundance. Why is it that in early childhood education, abundance is a dirty word? Why is that? Why do we have to feel guilty to make a decent living? I'll introduce you guys to Tony in a little bit, but Tony is my performance coach. I've been working with him for almost 2 years now, and literally one of the biggest things that he has worked with me on is giving myself permission to prosper. Amen. Yeah, right? Because I literally had to go through a whole process to give myself permission to pay myself. How many other industries do you think do people go into and become a business owner to not make money? Right? How many other industries do people go into and feel guilted for doing well? When you're an abundant child care center owner, you've got this guilt placed on you. But why do we own that? It doesn't have to be that way. And if there's one thing I hope I can let you guys leave here with is the hope and the abundance. Just understanding that it is okay for you to step into a life of abundance. It is okay for us as an industry not to carry everything on our backs, because that's who we are, right? If you're in childcare, you probably love children and you want to pour into them and you want more. I know when I became an owner, I had worked in centers and I just really wanted more. I loved the children. I loved being in the classroom. But what I've realized is the higher up you go, the less time you get with the children. We literally separate ourselves from what we loved the most. So now I actually specifically make intentional time to just go play. Just go play. Let's just go play with them. Just be with them in the room. Sit on the floor. Go play in the sandbox. It brings me back to life. I just love it. So that abundance, right? The abundance doesn't just come through money. It comes through interactions like that. How many of you in this room take the time to just go play with the children? By a raise of hands. I love it. Just sit on the floor and play with them, because that's why we're here. That's probably why you got into this industry, but it's also probably why we have that martyr syndrome, right? Where we end up having to save everybody at our own self-sacrifice. And we're basically laying ourselves out to save everyone else. So anyways, I was preparing for this. My fiance back there asked me to come up with a character that I wanted to be coming in here. And I said, well, I'm going to be Joan of Arc. But then it dawned on me, wait a second, what did Joan of Arc do? She went and sacrificed herself to save everybody else, right? And I'm trying to break free of sacrificing myself to save everybody else. But I want you guys to think about that, because how many of you are in those shoes where we sacrifice to save everybody? And it doesn't have to be that way. And if there's one thing that Tony's really taught me, as when you come from a place from gratitude, oh my gosh, it changes everything. Gratitude can help you to see the abundance. It can give you clarity, and it can bring you hope. Gratitude has played such a huge, huge impact in my life. It has changed my life completely. 3 years ago, after my husband died, and life seemed pretty hopeless for me. Like, I don't know, it was, I can't say it seemed hopeless because I'm just a person who always has hope. But for those of you who don't know, it's something I've recently started sharing, but I've actually struggled with agoraphobia throughout my life. And for those of you who don't know what agoraphobia is, it's basically the fear of being around people. So there was a point in my life where I went 6 months without being able to leave my front door. I would have debilitating anxiety attacks trying to leave my house. And so after my husband died, there was a moment that I looked around my life and I thought to myself, I could sell everything. I could sell my companies. I could sell everything. The house I lived in at the time was super cheap, almost paid off. And I thought, I could just never leave the house, and I would be perfectly happy because I love being alone. I could literally just hide away, and I'm happy hiding in my home. But I knew that day when I looked around and thought, I'll just sell everything, and I'll just stay in here, and it'll be awesome. My kids can come visit me every now and then, but I never had to leave the house again. But my purpose got me out of the house because I knew why I was put on this earth. The second thing, though, was gratitude is what brought me out of that pit. What I started doing every day was I would write down 5 things that I was grateful for. But I put a twist on it. I decided I could not repeat the same thing twice. I could not ever say the same thing. So I would write them down, and I would have to look, like, what was I grateful for? And for a while, I was really, sly about it. I would literally put, my dog, Daisy, then Minnie, and, those were, Ronan, Bronson, everything. But let me tell you, after about 30 days, it starts getting a little bit harder. After 60 days, your mind changes. My brain completely switched. And I would wake up in the morning, and the first thought in my head would be, I am so thankful I woke up under covers today. This pillow under my head feels amazing. I'm so thankful I have a pillow. How many people in the world don't have a pillow, I wonder? And I would actually, and this actually happened, I stepped out of bed one morning, and I put my feet on carpet, and I thought, I am so thankful my feet are on carpet this morning, and I didn't have to feel a cold floor. How many people don't get to stand on a carpet? And I walked to my shower and turned on the hot water and thought, I'm so thankful I actually get to take a hot shower. How many people don't get to take a hot shower? And I actually looked up the statistics. Did you know 2/3 of the world don't get hot showers? 2/3 of the world. But it made my mindset do this complete turnaround and shift, where instead of seeing what I've lost, I started seeing everything I had. Instead of mourning my husband's loss, I started being grateful for the 30 years I had. It just completely changed everything in me. Everything. I started being grateful for all the experiences instead of being angry. Because there was a period where I was angry and bitter. I was pretty cynical, angry, and bitter. But it just changed everything. I would go into my center and I would start being thankful for the conflicts, because that means I had a conflict to be thankful for. It just completely changed how my brain was wired. So gratitude really brings it all together. So I really encourage you guys, lean into gratitude. So I know some of you, though, look at me up here and you think, well, okay, but you're you, and how is that possible? And is this really something that we can accomplish as a field? So I want to give you guys some stories of people, and not all of you guys knew you were on here, huh? Some of you guys had no idea I was putting you up on a slide. Of people in this room, and so, yeah, all of you guys are here. I made sure so I could put you guys on the spot, of who have accomplished amazing things since they've been working with me. So Tara, if you could stand up. So when Tara came to me, she actually still lived in New York. You lived in New York still, right? And she was relocating to Florida. She was afraid because she was an owner-operator, and she didn't know how she was going to be able to manage being a remote owner. So she learned not only how to be a remote owner, but you want to talk about taking wings and flying. Now Tara is looking at really scaling her business. She has multiple streams of income in her companies, and she's looking at opening more centers in different states. So now not only does she live in Florida and have her centers in New York, but she's looking at owning in Florida. She's looking at more centers in New York. She's looking at other businesses. She's really opened her mind to what can be. And she has changed her business model in a way that makes it a prosperous business. And it's just amazing what she's done. Cynthia. Where'd you go, Cynthia? I'm going to make you stand up. She's like the one who's going to be like, I can't believe you're doing this to me. So Cynthia, and she actually started at one of these summits. Cynthia was a home provider, and she actually expanded into her first center. But a couple extraordinary things about Cynthia. First of all, she completely thought outside the box. She wanted to figure out a way, how can I make this affordable? How can I really make this doable? So she went to different churches and negotiated to use the space that they don't use during the week and negotiated like a ridiculously low lease. I think every single one of us is jealous. Let me tell you right now, we are all jealous of the lease that Cynthia pays. But she found a way to bring expenses super low so that she could be prosperous in her center. Totally thought outside the box. And the other thing that she did that I was really impressed with is she decided she wanted a passenger van. So she just put it out there in the universe. She literally just said, hey, does anyone know a place that would donate a passenger van? And she got it. Within what? How long? 3 hours. 3 hours. And what year is it?
Another small business.
Yeah. What year is it? So it's not, like, it's a nice van. Like, a nice van just given to her because she put it out there. The courage that took. And what I love about Cynthia is that she is willing to take those steps to find a way. She wants it. She's like, okay, well, let's find a different way. How many of you guys would have even thought of asking for a donation of a van if that's what you wanted? How many of you have thought to go negotiate with churches or whatnot to lease empty space that's not used during the week just to get a super low lease rate, right? That's what I want you guys to see and think about is those thinking outside the box. There is a different way. You can sit back down. And Heidi, where did Heidi go? Heidi really has no idea I'm doing this to her. Heidi also, how big is your center that you just expanded to? 70? Yeah, so she just went from a home provider to expanding as well. And we had a phone conversation, and she's like, okay, I know I just opened, and I promised my husband, how long did you promise your husband? A year, did you say? Like a year, I'm not going to start something new, but I'm ready. I want something new already. It's that mindset shift, right? That she's not stuck and scared of this industry. She's ready for her next adventure. But I get your husband's perspective too. It's like this roller coaster, and I know we get to be, the entrepreneurs in us get to be like, okay, what's next, what's next, what's next? But what Zachary would tell me, the shiny, right? We're always chasing the shiny. So Heidi's ready already, and she just is already a prosperous owner. And you filled up really quick, didn't you? Yeah, just really fast, filling up. And Shalyn, I love Shalyn's story. When Shalyn came to me, she and I always talk about how we were married to our childcare programs, and our husbands were actually like the other man, right? And it's like my husband used to tease me about all the time. He would always say, like, that's your spouse. I'm just your side. Like, so Shalyn was working, 50 plus hours a week? When she went through my program, Shalyn actually really took everything to heart that I teach, and she became almost retired. She doesn't go into her program really at all anymore. And she handed it over, and it runs like a well-oiled machine to the point that she got bored enough that now she's expanding. What is your current square footage?
Right now it's 3,000 with 55 children.
So she's expanding from 3,000 with 55 children to a 20,000 square foot facility with 20 acres.
So we're believing that with the bathroom situation and all that, that we'll have like 280.
To 280 children. And, yeah, amazing, right? Amazing. But when Shalyn came to me, she too she just was exhausted. I wouldn't say hopeless because you're never really hopeless either. She was exhausted. She was tired. She was tired of letting her child care center run her life. And she found that freedom. It is there. Those of you who are tired and who are just at that level that I was at when I sat in my car and I just couldn't do it anymore. I just want you to know there is hope. And the reason I'm putting the people in this room on the spot is to show you the living embodiment of the hope. It's not just me, it's them too. And they sat in the chairs just like you. I know Cynthia, it was almost 2 years ago, that she sat in my conference in Orange Beach, Alabama. Same thing. Changed my life. Yes. And it changed her life. I just want you guys to really understand and hear that. She absorbed what I challenged you earlier, right? If you really open your mind, these 2 days can change your life. They can change your life. And some of the people in this room are proof of that. It can literally change your life, but it is up to you, each one of you, to keep it going. We can give you the tools. I brought an amazing panel of speakers that I can guarantee you are not going to see in any other ECE conference. I brought an amazing panel of speakers to pour into you, and they could give you the most amazing diamonds and golden nugget. They could give you the equivalent of a diamond mine. But if you don't do the work, if you don't really hear what they're saying, and not just really hear, but listen and lean in and make it a part of you, it's just going to be another program that goes in the trash. And you're going to say, gosh, I should have. I remember that conference. That lady who was at the conference, oh my gosh, it changed her entire life. But I did nothing with what I learned. It's your choice. Each one of you have a choice. You can take it and run, or you can just keep living the same hamster wheel life that you're living. So, now I'm going to introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me and are here with me for the first time, I am just a small town girl. Who's from Nevada here? I live in Fernley, Nevada. You guys know where Fernley is? Yeah, Fernley. So I'm a Fernley girl. When Tony came out to Fernley, he was like, oh, you really live in the middle of nowhere. Like really the middle of nowhere. And I'm proud of that. So I'm a child care center owner, just like you, or many of you. I have done every job in the child care setting. I have been the cook, the van driver, I've done it all. I know, I can relate. I also own 3 other companies, not just my child care center. I am the CEO and founder of Child Care Business Professionals, which brings you this summit. I am also a mother to amazing kids, I have to say. So proud of them. I'm a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a dog owner. I have 5 dogs. My pets are like my life right now, so just like my 2 cats, my dogs, my turkeys, everything. I'm a widow, and I'm a fiance. One of my favorite words is the and, that you can have an and in life. But what I want to ask you guys is that really who I am? A couple of you just went through this with me. Am I really these things, or are those just labels? Those are labels, right? Those are accomplishments, they're labels, but they're not me. So many of you define yourself by labels. You define yourself as an owner, a director, a CEO. But those are labels. They're not the true essence of who you are. So when I look at who I am, I know who I am. I am a powerful, compassionate, inspiring woman. And I am here to create inspiration and to bring light to the world. I am here to change the lives of 1 million children. That is why I know I was put on this planet. When I figured out that that was my purpose in life, was to change the lives of 1 million children, my first thought was, okay, how am I going to do this? I have a lot of conversations with God, just by the way. So I was like, okay, God, what am I going to do? How? What? 1 million children? How on earth am I going to do that? And I actually did the math. How many child care centers would I have to own? I'm like, okay, that's probably not going to happen. So instead, I do this. I have my podcast. I've been on TED Talks, I do lots of YouTube stuff, and I do these things so I can pour into you. Because I know if I pour into you and I empower you, if I help you have healthier childcare centers, healthier businesses, and really teach you the importance of putting the children first, best practices, quality, highest quality standards for the children, I know I'm going to touch 1 million children's lives. I know I can do it. And that's how I'm going to do it, is by helping all of you to see why our job is so important. We work in the most important industry in the world. Do you guys know that we are forming 90% of the human brain? My first time through college, I actually my first time I was English. I was like wandering through college for a while. But as I was going through to get my psychology degree, I asked myself at one point, why are we really fixing broken people instead of trying to minimize damage and breaking them during their childhood? And I had already been in the early childhood field, and that's when I realized, why don't we just give them a better foundation and help them to be stronger so that we don't have to fix people so much in their adult life? And that's the power each of you have. That is literally, we can change the world. We see so much unrest politically, and each one of you has the power to change the world by pouring into the children in our care. And that's why we're all here. In some way or another, all of you in this room are touching a child's life. But think about it. If we can literally help children learn better empathy, better communication, and just those better listening skills, can you imagine how much that would change the world instead of all this fighting? Imagine if the politicians could just open their minds to hear what somebody else is saying. Imagine, right? Imagine the world, but do you guys realize that we have the power to create that world? Because we're helping shape the minds that are open to do that in the future. And that's why we work in the most powerful industry and the most highly underrated industry in the world. And why each one of your jobs is so important. And why pouring into you is so important. Because how are you showing up for them? The way you show up for your team is the way they're showing up for the children. So I just really want you guys to think, why are you here? And I want you to go deep. I don't want this surface level, oh, I'm here because I needed to learn this and that. No, I want to go deep. What is your ultimate purpose in early childhood education? What is our ultimate purpose? Because that's what's so important. That question, why are you really here? So we're going to do an activity, and what I want you guys to do right now is everybody's going to get up, and I want you guys to pair with someone you don't know. Is Christina in the room? Yeah? Okay. And then take a seat next to the person you don't know. So you guys can pair with someone you don't know, take a seat, because Christina and I'm going to go through some instructions. You guys, the sheets, as soon as you guys are done, I will give you the sheet.